Something big is happening in the hidden corners of your life. It's not just a coincidence or random chance. A watcher was hired, a private investigator whose eye caught what you thought was unseen, whose notes recorded what you believed was tucked away in the everyday moments. They traced the path of your life carefully, their hands shaking as they realized they were discovering much more than they expected. What they found is more than just shocking. It changes. Hey, take a moment and don't just scroll past this. The investigation kicked off quietly, just like all deep truths tend to do. They followed you through busy streets, where people moved by like shadows. In those quiet hallways where your loneliness bounced off the walls, their camera captured moments you thought were just yours. Morning coffee at your favorite spot, steam curling up into the chilly air like little prayers. Late night walks when insomnia turned the world into a canvas of blue solitude. Chats you thought had disappeared. Everything's been archived, catalogued, and studied like they're precious artifacts. Stick around until the end, because this surprise isn't really about them. It's all about you and the unseen framework that's been created around your life without you even realizing it. When the investigator finally put together their findings, their hands shook, not from the cold, not from being tired, but from the heavy burden of what they had seen. There was a sense of urgency that came through in every sentence they wrote. What I found is going to change how they view everything. Family, friends, and trust, all wrapped up in my little one. The truth they uncovered was just too explosive to stay hidden. Hey, don't rush ahead. The investigator was the first to notice the patterns. Weird and intentional patterns popped up, kind of like constellations that you can only see if you know where to focus your gaze. Some faces showing up in places where you wouldn't expect them to be. Always on the sidelines, just keeping an eye on things. Conversations that just paused when you walked into the room. The sudden silence was so thick you could almost taste it, only breaking into hushed, urgent tones after you left. Your name scribbled on papers tucked away in briefcases and hidden in desk drawers, surrounded by numbers that seemed like calculations, measuring something intangible yet so valuable. Every page of their report showed reality in a more somber light. Make sure to stick around until the end. They found messages, texts that lit up in the dark like accusations, emails that left digital traces, handwritten notes with ink that held fingerprints of betrayal, all shared without you even knowing. Your name was highlighted in bold, underlined, and circled in red ink, making it look like the focus of some kind of mission. Some messages were so full of envy, you could almost taste the bitterness in the air. Some people have betrayal about them, and once you know what to look for, it's hard to miss. Don't scroll away just yet. Something big is really starting to pick up speed. The investigator admitted in their notes that this wasn't just routine surveillance while keeping an eye on them. It felt like there were some unseen forces nudging me along, almost like something from beyond this world was encouraging me to dig deeper, to peel back every layer until I uncovered the core truth. It's as if the universe was softly saying, "Show them. They really need to check it out. My dear, make sure you don't miss this part." The investigator's path took them to a familiar doorstep, worn down from all the times people have come and gone. A family member's place where warm light pours in through the windows. What they saw there really made them rethink everything they thought they knew about loyalty and blood ties. Your trust feels like it's being weighed on scales you didn't even know were there, measured and quantified. And in the shadows of that realization, it seems lacking to those who should have cherished it. While you weren't looking, whispers turned into plans that were sharp enough to hurt. Make sure to stick around until the end. The investigator first thought this was just a case of betrayal, greed, or maybe some petty jealousy. As they kept digging, the truth started to branch out in ways they never saw coming. They found some financial trails, money moving around in the middle of the night, and documents with signatures that looked like yours but just didn't feel right. Contracts with your name on them, filled with clauses you never got around to reading, never agreed to, and had no idea were even there. It seems like someone has been shaping your future, using your identity like it's just a tool for their plans. Let's not rush things. The investigator's voice broke a bit when they shared this part. This person is doing more than just betraying them. They're trying to change their future without asking anyone, without getting the go-ahead, and without thinking it through. It seems like what was supposed to be yours, like your inheritance, chances, connections, and all those doors that should have swung wide open, got a bit sidetracked. Stick around until the end. Photos captured gatherings that happened in the dark. There are cars parked just 3 streets away from your place. You can see them, but they're far enough to keep a low profile. The investigator kept seeing the same faces over and over again. People you know and have shared a smile with. People who have shared a meal with you. They weren't just strangers. These were your folks. The investigator's pen just halted in the middle of a sentence. They said, "The truth I'm about to share is so unbelievable that I even had a hard time wrapping my head around it. But you know, evidence really doesn't lie. If they don't see what I've got right now, it could blow their whole world apart." My dear, you really can't miss this. The investigator focused on one person in particular, someone who's really close to your heart, someone whose smile always seems genuine and whose concern feels truly real. The investigator's notes really nail down the details about this person. Their expression when you're around is quite the work of art in trickery. But when you're not around, and they believe no one is paying attention, another side shows up, and that side carries malice like it's part of them. It turns out there were meetings in some cafes you probably haven't even heard of before, hidden away in neighborhoods you might not have explored before, making phone calls using a secret code, words that seemed harmless but had hidden meanings. They definitely had some help. It seems like someone from your inner circle was sharing information with them. Let's talk about your schedule, your vulnerabilities, your fears, and your dreams. You know what? The betrayal might hit a little closer to home than you think. So, the investigator came across some documents with official seals that have your name on them, linked to agreements you never actually signed. Here's the evidence that they tried to tie your future to choices you never made. It's all about fraud, right? The idea that you wouldn't take a good look to catch on. Make sure you don't overlook this truth. The investigator wrapped up this part with words that resonated powerfully. If they don't get this truth now, they might find themselves spending years puzzled about why their destiny feels like it's slipping away, like sand beneath their feet, without realizing that someone is actually pulling the rug out from under them on purpose. Stick around until the end. Something big is coming together. The investigator's file turned into something more than just paper. It turned into a mirror, shiny and unwavering, showing secrets that have danced around you like smoke, only visible when the light hits just right. It turns out that what you thought was safe has actually been watched, tracked, and slowly taken apart. They found out that someone from your close circle, someone you let in, was taking your private information and sharing it with others. This wasn't just idle chatter. This was done in a methodical way. This was intimacy used as a weapon. They were aware of when you stepped out of your house, when you picked up the phone, and when you let your defenses down. Make sure to stick around until the end, the investigator noted. They really understand the rhythm of their target's life, probably better than most people know their own lives. They're not just making random guesses about movements, they're looking forward to them. Hey, wait a second, don't just scroll past this. Behind doors you thought would stay shut, the investigator caught wind of some chats that were never intended to be recorded. The investigator came back with more than just a file this time. They approached, shaking, and said, "I can't keep this in any longer. The truth is heating up, and if they don't recognize it soon, it might just take over. My special one, these words are anything but ordinary. Don't scroll." They showed some hidden footage, clips of people talking about you like you were just a target. Their laughter had a bit of a bite, and their whispers were full of envy. Make sure to stick around until the end. The investigator leaned in and said quietly, "Every detail I uncovered points to one main truth. They're really scared of you coming up. Hey there, my dear. Make sure you don't skip. The file explained that they observed you not due to any weakness, but rather because of your strength. They were a bit spooked by how the light seemed to trail behind you. They were worried about how easily doors seemed to open for you. So, they came up with a plan, believing their shadows could trap your fate. They gathered in groups, sharing stories that weren't quite true. Make sure to stick around until the end. The investigator shared that they discovered some coded symbols. There are numbers scribbled on papers and initials etched into envelopes. These definitely weren't just coincidences. It looked like there were signs of a partnership formed to take you down. Don't skip that. But fate doesn't really give in to betrayal. The investigator mentioned, every shadow I came across brought me back to the same spark. They're worried you might outshine them. The betrayal went deeper than anyone expected. The investigator found out that there were attempts to shift assets in your name to redirect what was supposed to come to you. Stick around until the end. They got caught in the act, passing along information and signing while you were in the background. The files definitely show proof. They attempted to grab something that was never meant for them. Make sure you don't skip it. The investigator noted, this isn't just theft. It's just pure desperation. They realize they're running out of time, and it's weighing on them. Just a quick note, maybe take a break from scrolling for a bit. Now, you're the one who gets to see them for who they really are. Stick around until the end. The investigator shared something surprising, too. Sometimes, betrayal can come from the most unexpected places, not just from those you thought you could trust. There was this one person, the one you always stood up for, who was secretly sharing info with the people trying to wipe you out. Make sure you don't skip it. The report mentioned, this betrayal hurts the most because it comes from someone they trusted the most. Make sure to stick around until the end. The investigators spotted this individual handing out envelopes in some quiet alleys. They chose to do it on their own. They went with it. When they were confronted, their excuse was really unsettling. I never thought they would find out. My dear, make sure you don't skip, okay? The investigators' pen marks got a bit darker in this spot. They said, this isn't just betrayal. That's just being cowardly, and it's bound to come to light eventually. Stick around until the end. You've been carrying that weight for a while now, even without any solid evidence. You felt like someone's been watching you for ages. We've got the proof right here, and it's hard to argue with. This is your moment to wake up, my dear. They were looking for some quiet, but the truth really stands out more than any whisper. Make sure you don't skip it. The investigator wrapped up their notes with a single sentence that really stands out. They figured they were onto you, but guess what? Heaven had their eyes on them first. Make sure to stick around until the end. The last envelope the investigator had was thicker than all the others. It had recordings, photos, and names that could put an end to every shadow game. They quietly said, this is the final file. Once they read this, the masks will come off. There was a timeline that started from the very first day they began following you. The dates lined up perfectly with your milestones. Every move you thought was just random actually had a plan behind it. Stick around until the end. The investigator had connected the dots between faces, linking allies you never would have guessed. In the middle, there was one name that stood out, written bigger than all the others. My dear, just a quick reminder, don't skip. The name really caught the investigator off guard. It was someone you had supported, stood up for, and kept safe. Someone who beams at you when you're around but sharpens their knives when you're not. They were more than just a participant. They were the ones behind it all, the mastermind who led others to weave lies into your circle, making the atmosphere around you feel so heavy. Stick around until the end, but still their fear outweighed their strength. The investigator noted, every scheme they created was filled with panic. They understand that destiny is always awake. Don't miss this. You've always been strong. They kept an eye on you because your strength posed a threat to their control. The recordings from the investigators now showed complete conversations. You heard someone say your name, and their voice was shaking. Are they onto something? The evidence is out in the open now. The masks are off now. The lies are finally being heard. Stick around until the end. The investigator noted, "This isn't a tale of loss. It's a tale about coming to life." They believed they were wrapping up your story, but instead, they've just started it. Make sure you don't skip it. And in that truth, you find your strength. That heavy weight on your chest starts to ease up. You can sense the change happening. This isn't the part where your story falls apart. This is the moment your story takes a turn. Make sure to stick around until the end. The last page was empty, save for 4 words printed in bold. Check out the light as it comes up. Even while they were keeping tabs on you and attempting to control your life from behind the scenes, something much bigger was happening. It's always been yours. As you step into a room and sense that subtle shift in awareness, you'll just know it's not just paranoia. It's all about discernment. Make sure to stick around until the end. The moment they were worried about has finally come. Your eyes are wide open. Make sure you don't skip it. The private investigator wrapped up their journal with a final thought. They really believed they were unseen. No, they weren't. As you take a breath right now, just remember that everything you've been through has brought you to this moment. Your truth is yours to hold. The shadows are fading away. This is where their story wraps up and your journey starts. Stick around until the end because something big is no longer just waiting for you. It's here.